What's up? Welcome to Flippin the Script podcast. I got a special guest here today, Randall Artis, East Chicago legend in the political realm. Again, not only on Flippin the Script, we're talking about real estate, but we're empowering the community from all angles, right? We're talking about politics, the importance of politics, financial literacy, and we're going to dive into a whole lot of things, but let's introduce a special guest, Randall Artis. Thank you for joining us today, Randy.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. My name is Randall Artis. I'm a former East Chicago politician and councilman, and I'm glad to be here and go over some things about East Chicago politics.
Awesome. So for those of you who don't know about East Chicago politics, obviously it's been a lot of stuff. A lot of schools around the country has actually did stories on, unfortunately, the corrupt side of politics. A lot of us, don't look at politics, and the younger generations don't look at the importance of politics to understand that, a lot of our ancestors fought for us to have the right to vote. But, why don't you give a little bit of background about your history in politics in East Chicago?
Let me give a little background for history and politics. I ran for city councilman in East Chicago back in 1987. And when I ran in 1987, I ran on the theory of helping and giving back to the community. At that particular time, out in the complex, we call the projects, out there in Calumet, we even have a baseball field. We didn't have a softball field, we didn't have a basketball court. And I wanted to make sure that the community and the kids out there have the same rights and the same privilege that every other city has and other community has. So I ran for office. At that particular time, I lost by 4 votes.
4 votes.
4 votes in 87.
So when we talk about votes and every vote count, this is a prime example of that. People, a lot of times you hear people say, well, I'm not going to vote. My vote not going to count. And again, I say that's what that's what the big people want you to think. They want you to think that your vote isn't going to count because they know the more they keep us out of that political and that operation in terms of the voting, then it'll keep them in power and allow them to control those dollars that's involved in our community. So we got to make sure we get out there and vote. So again, you lost by 4 votes. How did that have you feeling by losing by 4 votes? A lot of times people say, I'd rather lose big than to lose by 4 votes.
Well, let me tell you what happened. That night I went to bed as a winner. I woke up.
You went to bed as a winner and you
woke up as a loser.
Wow.
And I lost on absentees. And people got to understand absentee is very, very important. Okay. See, back in those days, we have a history of voting twice, 3 times, and everything else.
What do you mean voting twice, 3 times? Explain that.
Well, I'm explaining.
Because when I go in there to vote, they only let me vote once.
Well, let me explain that.
Okay.
Back when you talk about absentee, you go in, we have a building called...
What's an absentee?
Absentee was someone come in and vote, not that person at the poll. When you have somebody from the county office come in and vote that particular person, usually that particular person who voted absentee is usually disabled or a senior citizen or blind, and so they need help. Okay. And so whenever you need help, you got people to take advantage of people that need help.
Okay.
And so what happened in my case is that they came and voted people in the nursing home. And at that time, it was 98 votes came out the nursing home.
Okay.
I lost 92-6 in the nursing home.
So nobody in a nursing home kind of liked you is what they said.
That's what they said. Nobody in the nursing home kind of liked me. But I found out that at that time, it was only 48 people was eligible to vote.
Wow.
Okay.
So how did the other...
It's what happened back in the day. It was a lot of corruption, a lot of things happening, especially in Chicago. And they voted people absentee that wasn't able to vote. And I was going to have a recount, but the reason why they have a recount because it would have been people that I know friends that I know that know they better, he'd have been in trouble. So
In trouble like how?
he'd been in trouble for election fraud. Okay,
What's the consequences of election fraud?
going to jail. He'd been in trouble in election fraud, and what they did, they admitted to me. They took money from the kingpin, to do the different things.
Okay.
And so
So when you say kingpin, I know in the late '80s or early '80s, it was a lot of, the underground gambling halls, and how did those people that ran those? How did they have an impact on elections?
the people who ran the underground gambling did a lot of good and a lot of bad. And the reason why I said did a lot of good, because back in them days, they had the policy, and you have minorities like Black and Hispanics. They had a hard time of getting loans from the bank or get money from the bank. And so the guys who ran that, they used to loan money to the community that need money. They used to give food out that need money. But at the same time,
Was they loan sharks?
they was definitely loan sharks.
High interest rate loans.
Very high interest rate loan.
Okay.
Not only you had to pay back with money, but you have to pay back with loyalty.
Wow.
So when they come back to you and they ask you, they need you to do this as far as election time, they expect you to do what they ask you to do. If you don't do it, then you have some consequence.
Okay. What type of consequences?
Well, the consequence could be that, a lot of individuals, they might need rent assistance. They might need electric bill, disco assistance. And you go to the kingpin, you would not get any assistance at all. That's one.
So what you're telling me is the kingpins that ran the gambling halls actually control all of these government programs as well?
The kingpin had they foot in the door with a lot of these programs. And they bought their way into the program because they have money. Like they say in politics, in order to make money, you got to spend money and you got to have money. And so a lot of the kingpins have a lot of illegal money because gambling was very flourishing. Back in '78, one of the kingpins went to jail in '78 because he did not divert $28 million worth of funds that came in that year.
So when you talk about gambling halls, it brings me to one of my favorite movies that's a classic is Harlem Nights. And they actually had the juke joint where, they had the gambling and, Red Fox was so is that the same type that was going on back then?
Definitely same type. We had gambling joints all over the community, especially in the minority community. And in 4 square blocks, we had about 5 gambling halls in 4 square blocks in one particular community. And all of it was run by the kingpin. And it was a very purpose.
So now those gambling halls is replaced by legal gambling halls, which are the casinos, because in the same area, it's about 4 casinos in the same proximity. So, and we all know how much money these casinos come in. But, on the flip side of that is, those casinos, a lot of the dollars that they get are, given back to the city in forms of, economic development in the city. So that's why a lot of times cities are so open to, allowing the casinos and the different, things coming to the city. So did those kingpins do any economic development back then?
It did. It got economic development in their own pocket.
It was economically developing their own pocket. Okay.
See, you're right there, Councilman, that the new establishments as far as the casinos, they have all the economic development have helped East Chicago, Gary, and Hammond tremendously. They have given back a lot, and you can see the difference. Look at East Chicago. Look at Hammond. You can see the difference in that, and it come from majority of that money from the gambling revenue.
Revenue, exactly. And I know, the local casinos here are, contribute a lot to those. So let's talk about, again, you said you were elected as councilman in you ran in 1987, lost by 4 votes. When did you go back and said, I'm gonna do it again, and tell us about that time?
Well, in 1991, I said I'm gonna run again, and I was really mandated by the community. They said you have to run again because no one in the community really believed I lost, and I really did lose.
Right.
But I took the hit on that, and so in '91, let me tell you a little story. The kingpin came to my house and wanted me to run councilman at large. I refused to run councilman at large.
So okay,
Yes.
what's the difference between a councilman at large and just running for councilman? Why did he want you to run for?
See, the difference between councilman at large and a district councilman is that councilman at large, you run all over the city. And you run for a district, you run for just that particular district.
A segment of the city.
Exactly. And the reason why he knew I was going to beat his candidate for that district because they had stole the election 4 years earlier.
4 years early. So when you say his candidate, I mean, he's a kingpin in in underground gambling. What do his candidate mean? What does that do for him?
Well, what the kingpins, you gotta understand, when they have political power, they have power, they can control a lot of things in city government. Okay. When they want to deal with the school city, they want to deal with the mayor, they can put pressure on the school city and the mayor because of its political presence and its political power he has.
Right. Okay. So again, like we saying, we're all about educating our community, and a lot of people, we just came up, up on an election. Obviously, Trump won, and that's for a different conversation. But I know a lot of people go out and vote for the presidential election, but they fail to turn out for local elections, and because they don't think a local election has as much impact on their life as the presidential election, when obviously it's the reverse, right? The local elections have more direct impact on your day-to-day lives than, the presidential election or elections in that nature. So, what impacts did you do in your community once, you decided to run again and eventually win?
See, one thing I found out, I didn't consider myself a politician. I consider myself a public servant because that's what you want to do. You want to serve the public. And the people in the community, only thing they wanted was the little things. They didn't want the big things. They looking out, they want to see the streets clean. They want to see a garbage pickup. They want to see the alley cleans. They want, if they need any kind of assistance, as long as you have a listening ear. Yeah, one thing more so than anything else, they want to make sure that their kids get quality education and their kids is treated fair. And the big thing back then was public safety. We wanted to make sure that the senior citizens and the youth were able to walk the streets, feel safe and secure. And that's one thing I made sure I did because I started, we called a police substation. I had cops walking the beat to make sure the community feels safe. And that was the biggest thing. And another thing too, they want to make sure that the youngsters out there have something to do to keep themselves occupied because the idle mind is devil advocate.
Right.
So you want to keep them occupied by doing something constructive and positive.
So what did you, as a councilman, what authority did you have? What was you able to do in terms of creating programs or work with the administration, the mayor, and whoever, your other colleagues on the council? What was you able to do for your community?
One of the first things I was able to do, I made sure I petitioned my other council people and the mayor that in the summertime, if nothing else, I believe that every kid that's eligible to work should be able to work. Okay. Because you understand, they're only working 20 hours a week. So we put extra money onto the budget to make sure that every kid, every year, we put $500,000 in the budget just for the summer programs.
And again, I know growing up that was very key for a lot of us because, again, if you're not working, you're going to be in the streets regardless, and it's going to obviously not lead to constructive things. So these type of programs actually help kids get off the streets, right? It's not just about having them make a couple extra dollars, but it's about getting them, the number one thing about getting them off the streets and getting them into something constructive that's going to help them, in the long term, because obviously it's keeping them occupied and all of that. So you think those programs are beneficial?
Oh, they are very beneficial.
Okay.
Even today, right now, I have youngsters that now they grown-ups now. They come back and tell me constantly they appreciate what we did for them back in them years. Right. Another thing we did, as far as programs, we wanted to make sure that every individual that participated in our programs got notified. Got recognition. We have like a softball league. We have basketball leagues. Everybody who played in the basketball league and softball league got an award, got a trophy. We didn't get trophies. That's the first place team, second place team.
But see, now that's a whole different conversation, right? Because I don't believe because life don't give you participation trophies, right? Life gives you, once you accomplish some level of success and you at the top of the game, you get rewarded for that, right? But you just don't get rewarded for showing up. So again, you can say it helps build confidence. That's one aspect, but the other thing is giving them a false sense of reality, right? Because if the world is not going to reward them for just showing up, why are we doing that as at that age? So, but again, that's a whole different conversation. We not go dive too deep into that, but I wanted to, kind of discuss, the politicals and how important that is, right? Because again, as we continue to educate the community, it's not about finances. It's a, full spectrum of things that we want to discuss on, flipping the script, flipping the narrative about our community. And I think politics is definitely one of those things that, gets overlooked, especially by the younger generation, because they don't know, right? They don't know the importance of politics, the impact it has on your day-to-day life. And like you said, just something as simple as creating summer jobs, summer programs, and different things like that you were able to do. I know a lot of times we go out, been at different events together, people my age and even older that was from the district that you was in, they hug you and tell you how much they love you because the programs you created for them and their nephews, nieces, kids, so again, but that was somebody like you being in that position to be able to do that, right? And that's very key because, we look at it like electing somebody like you, what is that going to do for me? How is that going to impact my day-to-day life? Because it's going to get your kids off the streets. It's going to get them into summer programs, whether it's a work program or whether, like you said, bitty ball, baseball, everybody get a trophy participation. But again, I know that's a different conversation. So again, that's key. Now, obviously, that's the great side of politics and some of the things that you was able to do. But again, East Chicago is known for its corruption. So let's address the elephant in the room. So let's talk about some of the corruption that plays a part in politics. And why do you think there is so much corruption in politics? And a lot of times that actually leaves voters like, man, they go do what they want to do anyway. So why should I even go out and vote? And they go do what they want to do. They just looking to get in power to steal money anyway. So I'm not going to help them get in power. But I always say your vote is your power. And whether you act on that power and actually cast your vote or you don't, you're making a decision one way or the other. So, but again, let's talk about the ugly side of politics. And East Chicago has that side. So let's address some of those.
East Chicago has a history of corruption in politics. And one of the reasons why I believe they have a history of corruption in politics is because, East Chicago at one time was the industrial capital of the world with a lot of money. We got a lot of money, and a lot of money available. It's easy for people to divert some of their money into their own pocket. Okay. And so it made it so easy for some of the politicians to able to get some of that money. And so
how could politicians get some of that money there?
Well, back then, they set up their own part, set up dummy companies. Okay.
When you say back then, what year are we talking?
Well, I was talking about.
We ain't gonna go back.
No, it's all way. No, I was talking about. We're talking about like in the 90s, early 2000s.
Okay. How did they get?
They'll set up their own little company up. Okay. And they set up a little company up, and then they make sure that particular company can get contracts. Okay. And they set up company get contracts. It might be contracts for cutting grass. It'd be contract for doing construction work, whatever it might be. And they get real greedy. Now it's good to have their own company, as long as you don't feed on the trough that you serve, the people you serve.
So you saying it? So you saying it's good to they get too greedy? So is it okay to take a little? Is what you saying?
No. What I'm saying by greed is this.
Okay.
Is that it's good if you get a contract in another city.
Okay.
Because it got nothing to do with what you're doing.
Right. Exactly. Okay. I'm glad you cleared that up.
Yeah.
And that's key, right? A lot of times, a lot of people outside of our community is getting those government contracts within our community.
Yes.
And what that does is it takes opportunity from business owners and entrepreneurs in our community.
Yes.
And gives them to outside, which means those dollars are not being recycled within your community. So again, we just, going to continue to educate. So let's go after those government city contracts, but you got to make sure you qualify. You got to make sure you meet all the qualifications. Just don't, say you got an LLC and expecting to get a government contract. It don't work that easy, but, just put yourself in position. Because again, it's key to, keeping the dollars. Because obviously if you're from that community or a nearby community, you're going to employ within that community. It's only when you go way outside and companies come way outside into our community and do development and, whatever else we have within, contracts we have within our city that don't, we get left out, on the outside. But I know a lot of times, a lot of ordinance and different things like that that council members and administration set up, it kind of have them, hold them accountable to employing within the community. So I know that's key. But, I don't want to kind of get off track, but in terms of, the political corruption that you were discussing. So if we just touch back on that. So,
see, and the good thing back in the day, too, is that in order to get a contract in the city, it used to be that you had to know someone, and the person got a kickback. And that happened kind of often, kind of prevalent at that particular time.
And you see that, we right next to Chicago. Yes. You see a lot of those, I don't know, what was it? The last 3 of the 4 governors actually went to jail on political corruption. And a lot of that is kickbacks, right? Because again, you got to be careful when you deal and you put yourself in that position and in a political and leadership role within the community. And, you're, giving out $1 million contracts and, in some cases you making $40,000, $50,000 in a position that you're in. So that's where the temptation comes in. So again, it takes a person of strong character to be in a position of, political leadership and serving the community, because again, it can easily be lead down the wrong path. Right. So we definitely gotta be careful. So they used to do kickbacks and
Thanks. I'm gonna give you one quick illustration of real corruption happening in Chicago. Pretty recently too.
all right.
The public safety building right there in Chicago.
Okay.
Okay, it's a $30 million bond.
Are we so we gotta be careful here.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about allegations, or do we want to talk about?
No. I'm gonna tell you, it's not allegation. This is facts.
Okay. Okay.
Facts.
So when you say it's facts, is it facts in your head, or is facts that can be?
It's public record.
Okay. All right.
Public record. It's facts public record.
So you standing on that?
I'm standing on that.
Okay.
Okay. It's facts public record. Is the public safety building right there, the Chicago Public Safety Building, the new police station, new courthouse, the
How long does this date back?
That probably about 25 years.
Okay.
Oh, okay. The bond, see, it was a bond issue. What happened is that whoever handled the bond usually get anywhere between 1% to 3% of the bond. That's their fee.
So what's a bond? Because
Municipal bond.
Okay.
Municipal bond. That's what people buy to pay. Buy municipal bonds to pay for the particular project for municipalities and stuff. Projects.
All right.
Okay. What happened was this: it was a group out of Indianapolis was going to do the bond. They could not sell the bond, so an individual from California. Okay, I could tell the name of the group, Sieber, Bradford, and Shank.
You going out there. You jumping out there.
What they did, they sold the bond because the people, they sold the bond out of their San Francisco office and their New York office. They sold the bond. And at the end of the day, they receive $115 at the end of the day. Okay.
What was the corruption?
That was their fee. $115.
Okay.
All right. So what I'm saying is that other people get money off their bond. They receive $115. But I'm saying their fee should have been way more than $115 on a $30 million bond issue. Think about it. 1% of $30 million is how much? And by law, you can at least get 1%. That's a law. And you negotiate up to 3%. That's how it goes into the
So where did that extra money go to?
It went to other avenues.
Okay.
Let's leave it like that.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
And all he got was $170. Okay.
What so what other things in East Chicago? So again, a lot of times what we do is have the community distrust our politicians. So once that happens, then a lot of times that discourages us to actually go out and vote. How do you believe we rebuild that trust in the community in terms of getting our people out there to say, it's not about the corruption, but we're actually trying to do what's right by the people?
I think one way how we rebuild that trust recently is that I'm just going to use Mayor Anthony Copeland. I give him credit. Back in the day, we used to have what we call power brokers and stuff. There's no such thing as power brokers. He made sure that there's no power brokers somewhere. And that helps eliminate.
Mayor Anthony Copeland, he's the current mayor. He's the first elected Black mayor of the city of East Chicago. And he's definitely took from everything we see, he's definitely took all the corruption out of East Chicago. The past, administrations, for whatever reason, not going to necessarily dive deep into that, but there was, some corruption surrounding those past mayors. I know one of the biggest things that made national news in terms of corruption in East Chicago, corruption in politics, is the sidewalk scandal. Oh, yes. So, you wanna dive into the sidewalk scandal and what that was and
Yeah, the sidewalk scandal really blew up out of proportion. Okay,
what was it?
the sidewalk scandal was when the city was doing sidewalks on private property and cutting trees on private property. It was just not sidewalks. It was cutting trees on private property. And the federal government said that's against the law. You cannot do sidewalks on private property. So that's what the sidewalk scandal was more so than that. And they were doing it, and they said they was doing it for a vote. They're doing sidewalks on private property, cutting trees on private property for a vote. Okay, so that's the whole thing of the sidewalk scandal.
So what happened with it, and you want to elaborate on it?
Well, I'm gonna elaborate on it. What happened was that they did an investigation. The federal government did an investigation, and from the investigation, they said that this was against the law to do it. Okay, so it had indictments and stuff, and from the indictments that people served time, and time was served because of the sidewalk scandal.
How much time was served then?
Well, let me tell you, you have individuals got anywhere between a month, 10 months to 11 years.
Wow.
So it all depends on what capacity. Yeah.
How many, when you say individuals, who are we talking?
Well, it was council people. It was department heads. It was the council people, department heads. It was contractors. And that's was mainly who it was.
Okay. All right. So again, a lot of stuff like that is actually what gets, the people and the community saying, but I guess I got just a average Joe question. How do you go to jail for, doing sidewalks for residents? How do you go to jail for that?
Well, what it was said, see, one thing you can understand, the council do not approve any contracts.
Okay.
No. Council do not approve any contracts. That's a fact. And the thing is that it was appropriate that they say council people directed the sidewalk thing, even though they did not approve no contract. Any contract in the city is approved by the Board of Works.
Okay.
And none of the council person did approve any contracts on that particular thing.
Okay.
And one of the things what happened was that the president of council had got a letter from the attorneys for Indianapolis say they could do it this way. And so attorneys from Indianapolis said they could do it this way. So it went along like that thing. And so that's what
that is.
That's what that
okay.
Really happened.
So we talked about that. So the politics in East Chicago, as we talked about the good, the bad. But what would you like everybody to understand about East Chicago politics and just politics in general and how important it is in our day-to-day life?
I'm gonna tell you, it's very, very important. Okay, because right now you have a new breed of public service here in East Chicago, and glad to see a new breed of public service in Chicago. And it's very, very important because I'm gonna use you for example, Councilman. Okay, you always give back, and that's the key. People don't understand. They think when you're a council person, you're supposed to write the ordinance and the resolutions and all that. The only thing the people want is somebody who's out there concerned about them, concerned about their well-being, concerned about their public safety, concerned about their kids, concerned about if they water bills,
their day-to-day life.
Day-to-day life.
Right, exactly.
And as you're right, that's why it's so important as a local official. It's important to vote in local elections more so than anything else because you're dealing with the day-to-day life.
They impact your day-to-day life. And like you say, as a councilman, one reason I always said I would, my mother actually was totally against me getting into politics because obviously she know the bad part of politics and how ugly politics can get. And she just discouraged me from day one from getting in politics. She was like, baby, this is not what you want. You don't want to do it. Politics in East Chicago is ugly. And that's not just East Chicago, right? That's across the world, but across the nation. But again, I was more encouraged because I said, I'm serving the people. I want to be the voice of the people. And I believe if you keep those intentions and keep that forefront, I think you can do a good job. And again, politics is ugly. I'm not going to sit here and say it's not. I mean, there's, no friends in politics in some cases. A lot of, people that you thought was there for you, might not be. But again, if you're doing it for the right reasons and you're serving the people and you keep the people first, I think that's going to be key. Like you said, give back. As a councilman, next week, in a couple of weeks, we're doing a toy giveaway. Again, one of the things growing up in my community, we had a lot of people that wasn't as fortunate around. So I believe, one of the opportunities that I have is to be able to give back in whatever capacity that I've been able to do so. So we're doing a huge toy giveaway December 21st, and we're looking to bless over 500 kids with new toys, wrap toys. It's going to be a great outreach for the community. And again, it's all about what we're doing. Again, and I believe if you keep the community first and you serve the community, and that's your true, genuine goal, I believe it'll all work out at the end. So, that's what we all about, empowering the community, making sure we keep in the community first, educating the community through financial literacy and making sure that we're, keeping control of our community, right? Not allowing others from outside to come in and take over our community. Because once that happens, we lose our voice and we have no say so on the day-to-day, things that want to impact us directly. So again, I think it's key to have people that, is in position like myself to give back. Again, I say I could live anywhere in the world, but I decided to live in the community that raised me and put me where I am today. And that's, I never forget that. And I've always said I'm committed to, empowering my community. And that's one reason we started the podcast, and, we're educating them, the community on all levels, political, financial, educational, anything we believe will be a benefited community. That's what we aim for. So, I appreciate, you joining us and you talking about the politics. And what would you like to see in the political going forward?
I put it this way. I like what you're doing, Councilman. When I'm saying like what you're doing is that, most politicians, you're different. You're a public servant. I'll call you a politician. Okay. Politicians really don't like what you're doing. And the reason I'm saying politicians like they're doing, one thing I notice about you, you take care of the people. You don't concern about what the politicians say, what they do. Your whole concern is what the people want. Okay. Because politicians ain't nothing but an art of negotiating. You want to negotiate what's just best for them a lot of times. What you negotiate was best for the people.
Always. You got people.
That's why I don't see you hang around a lot of politicians, because they're going to tell you what you want to hear all day. But you hang around the people, they're going to tell you what you need to know.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
Yeah. See, deal with the people. As long as you stick with the people, you go on the right track.
What do you believe the future of East Chicago looks like? I mean, again, if you look at its current condition, I will, kudos to the current Mayor Anthony Copeland, and what he's been able to do. Because again, people that come into our community look at and say, man, the city looks amazing. So what else you think we can do as a community to take East Chicago to the next level?
I agree with you, Councilman, that Mayor Copeland have done an outstanding job making the city look beautiful, looking great. But I feel that in the future it's going to be greater later because of people like yourself that have visions that want to do what's right for the people. And that's what the people, they earning for people like yourself because they know you for them. Okay?
Right.
Not the politician, you for them.
Right. And again, a lot of, just, as you're saying it for them, obviously, not to say that the current administration isn't for them, because a lot of times he make decisions that's tough, that's going to impact the community in a tough way, but later on, ultimately is in the best interest of the community. And that's what happens, right? Sometimes it's like when you, as a, being the leader of a community in a political realm, you're doing things for the people that you serve that, don't always understand what's in their best interest, right? But you have, in that position of leadership, you have all the data. So you know exactly what's right and what's in the best interest long-term of that community. Obviously, recently, a few years ago, the district that you're originally from, it was found out to have lead. It was, the projects was actually built on lead, and again, it made national news, and the mayor had to make a difficult, decision to close those and displace all of those residents out of that community. And again, that wasn't an easy decision, and you got a lot of backlash, but ultimately it was in the best interest, because who wants, their kids in the community and, families in the community be living on something as toxic as lead, right? And dangerous as lead. It has long-term impacts. We all know the data that has. So, being in the, position of leadership in politics, it's not it's not an easy job. A lot of times we look at it and we look and say, well, I want to be in that position, but we don't understand all the things that come with it. But it is a difficult position. But I believe if you do what's right and you keep the people first, I think ultimately you'll become, you'll do well in that position. So what do you have? What takeaways do you want the audience to have as it pertains to politics?
Yeah.
Not only in East Chicago, but across.
Oh, yes. Well, I just want to clear one thing, though. Everybody know that definitely Anthony Copeland have done an outstanding job. They continue doing a great job in the city of Chicago. And I'm looking, but you understand, Anthony Copeland ain't going to be there forever. And we looking at whoever succeed Anthony Copeland, we want them to take it to another height.
Right.
Okay. And we're looking for, he has started a ground-breaking thing. And now the next person, whoever succeed him, I'm quite sure they're capable and able for learning from what he have done to take it to another height, another level. And I'm looking for in the future that that we make it to the end.
Yeah, we go definitely make it there. So what other takeaways? Obviously, other than get involved in the local politics, and again, we're talking, your generation, I think, really never stopped being involved, right? But it's kind of time to help hand it over to the next generation, and we got to make sure we hold up and make our ancestors proud and continue to get involved in the election process and serving of the community, and not just, again, it has day-to-day impact. It has who's going to educate your kids, lead your kids, programs created throughout the community. Like you said, you had the summer jobs programs, and if you have people of good character and actually have the city and the community best interests at heart, then they're going to make sure those programs exist. And again, I believe if you're focused, dead set on the community, then the community ultimately wins. But if you have your political agendas and you have, a lot of things that you're trying to accomplish personally, and that's the only thing that you're, aiming for, then obviously the community suffers. So I think is key. People of all ages get involved in politics. When I was running, my last election, a lot of people, a little younger than me and 10 years younger or 15 years younger, never voted before, right? And it's like, how do you not vote on something that's going to impact your day-to-day life, right? Like you have to get involved. Everybody from all generations, from 18 to your generation and even older, right? Because again, if we put those people in position, then the community wins. And if we are not making those decisions and not getting involved, then we allowing others. And ultimately, sometimes that's where the political corruption will come into play and like that. So, do your due diligence on different candidates, but just make sure you always try to ensure that, you're involved in whatever capacity that you can be.
Yeah. With that said, too, Councilman, me personally, I like to see whoever be the next person that take over the realm as the leader of East Chicago. They go beyond and beyond by meeting with federal people, the federal government, the state government, because, the city of East Chicago cannot sustain by itself. It's a revenue.
Right.
So you will need federal dollars and state dollars in order to move us to another level. So it's good to have some type of partnership with them. When you talk about something that's going to be good for the people in the community, there's no such thing as a Republican Democrat. We all is one.
Right.
And so we got to cross over the aisle to make sure that we meet and negotiate with our counterparts and have some type of relationship with them for they can trust in that particular individual. That way they could help build East Chicago with state and federal dollars. That's very key.
That's very key. Awesome. So again, Randall Artis, thank you for having us. Shout out to the sponsor, Exclusive Footwear, where you can find all the latest in urban gear as well as, older gentlemen. So it's Christmas time coming up. So make sure you stop at Exclusive for all the Christmas shopping. We have stuff for all ages, from infants all the way up to fathers and grandfathers. So don't allow Christmas to pass and not come by Exclusive. We have holiday hours, so make sure you shop Exclusive Footwear. And don't forget the toy drive, which is December 21st. And all of those links will be down below for you to click on to see if you, want to get involved in everything. But also looking forward to, again, looking out for other businesses. If you would like to come on as build your business, because we're all about community empowerment. If you want to be a guest on a show, if you would like for us to come and do a live broadcast from your establishment, we're out doing that as well. But again, we're about empowering the community, flipping the narrative in the community. And thank you for having us. We flipping the script. We out.
Thank you.